Let's bring in Dahlia Shendlin in Tel Aviv. She's a columnist at Plus 972 magazine and a public opinion strategist. Good to have you with us. So we understand voter turnouts are looking pretty good. What's driving people's interest and voting pattern at this point? The policies or the personalities?
I think it's very much the personalities, but I would not assume that that negates the policies. When people talk about being for or against continuing Benjamin Netanyahu's leadership, it's really not just about personal like or dislike. The people who oppose him do not like the way he's leading the country. They do not support the annexationist policies. They do not support, his political rhetoric, what many people consider to be incitement, and they certainly do not support the corruption investigations against him. So it's not just personal. The people who support him, who are on his side, absolutely support the policies that he represents. They think that he has great foreign relations. They think that he represents Israel well in the world. They appreciate that Israel has decent macroeconomic success and data, and they think that the charges against him are largely overblown. So all of these things can be reduced to the idea of personality, which is why some people see this as a referendum on Netanyahu. Is that driving the turnout? We don't exactly know, because we don't yet know who is turning out. We have seen about 2% higher turnout than comparable times in April, but we don't know if it's higher among any particular political community and what it will mean.
Nevertheless, the level of turnout, does that suggest at the very least that the result might be significantly different to the April results that led us back to this stage?
If by the end of the day turnout is significantly higher, and let me just remind you that we're talking about small percentages, because in April the turnout was just over 68%, and in 2015 turnout was about 71, nearly 72%. So these are small differences. We're talking about probably only a difference of a few percentage points, but for that reason, there's no way to tell which way it goes. If that rise is driven by the Arab Palestinian citizens of Israel, then it could significantly shift the map. If it gives the joint list, which is a combined list of the Arab Palestinian parties in Israel, if they do, if they get a couple of seats above their current weight or their current polling, it could shift the map. If, on the other hand, they are primarily Jewish voters, especially if they are right-wing voters, they could boost the fortunes of some of the right-wing parties, including the smaller right-wing parties, which could add possibly 4 seats to the block of right-wing parties if one of the smallest ones crosses the electoral threshold. So it's just, we're hearing reports, we're hearing anecdotal reports of high voting in some of the Arab, Palestinian, and Bedouin communities in Israel, but it's hard to know whether to trust those, A, because they're anecdotal, and B, because some of them are politicized. Netanyahu's camp, the right wing, have been using these reports of high turnout in Arab areas to try to scare right-wing voters into turning out more. So, we're dealing probably with political manipulation and a little bit of disinformation, too. We really don't know until, much later in the day.
All right. Thank you so much for your analysis on that.